Okay, so according to Kimmel, is masculinity primarily a product of human nature or culture? And what's the difference? What does he say?
It's a result of culture. It's something that people are like develop over time based on like kind of their surroundings and everything. And the difference would be that culture kind of you get to choose how, when or how you are masculine, and nature would be being natural, being born with it, kind of it being set in your mind.
Yeah, and it having to do with how you're built, your body determines, right? And culture is, like you said, Sam, the things that we decide are properly male or female. And you're right, Kimmel says it's culture, that our conception of masculinity is primarily a product of our culture, our cultural values. And he also says history, right? He says it's not ahistorical, meaning that it is very much historical. Let me read the passage. It's the second paragraph on page 1. Look at, so this is my, do you see all of that? All that markup on this paper? So it's page 1, paragraph 2. He says, I view masculinity as a constantly changing collection of meanings that we construct through our relationships with ourselves, each other, and our world. He says it's neither static, it doesn't stay still, or timeless. He says it's dynamic, right? And it is constructed within a specific historical context, okay? It is historical. Manhood is not the manifestation of an inner essence. Essence, it means like what you are essentially in your essence. Okay, it's socially constructed. We're making it up in our societies. So that's what he argues. Manhood doesn't bubble up into consciousness from our biological makeup. It is created in culture. And he says it means different things to different people at different times. All right, and then he goes on in this article, in this chapter of a larger book. That's what this is. It's an extract from the book, to identify different masculinities for different times, places, and different cultures. Okay, like Western culture has a particular version of masculinity that is historically situated, but is different from the way other cultures conceive of masculinity. Okay, but that's the point, is that culture conceives it, constructs it, and then reinforces its performance. And that's what SA2 is asking you to think about. All right, what about the second one? What is agency? He uses that word, right? And why does he argue that his view of masculinity, the one that we just read and talked about, should not be understood as a loss? Let me back up. Why might anyone think of thinking about the constructedness of masculinity as a loss? Why might anyone think of that as a loss or perceive it as a threat to their identity?
Because they're not included. Like, he talks about the marketplace man, and how that's like kind of like a middle-aged white man who's like upper middle class or whatever, and like most people who live in America aren't that, and so they feel kind of stifled into internalizing those kinds of values, even if it doesn't represent their own. And I think he also mentioned religion too, like being a Protestant.
Okay. All right. So it was kind of hard to tell what you were saying, Debbie, but it's okay.
I don't know what it's with my headphones, sorry.
It's just a little bit of feedback, a little bit of noise coming across. It makes your voice kind of garbled. But seriously, don't worry about it. This is the crappy environment we have to work in. So we're just making the best of it, as I keep saying. All right, but anybody else? Agency? Why would a man think of that as a loss and feel threatened by the claim that Kimmel is making, that there's nothing natural about this, that it's just something that we make up? Think about male identity. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, for some people, I know Kimmel talked about that not being masculine, you don't fit in not accepted as well. He talked about if you're of a different race than white, or of different class, ethnicity, age, or sexual preference, then you're not seen the same, and you could be humiliated by that. You're not seen as masculine. So I think for some people, not being masculine is a loss because you're not seen the same way as others, not treated the same, not put on the same level.
Okay.
And honestly, probably miss out on a lot of opportunities.
Okay. So for those people, and I think that's what you were saying too, Debbie, what of it I could make out. But for those people who don't fit into the dominant conception of masculinity, right? Kimmel's argument is good news, right? They're like, yeah, there's nothing natural or absolute, right? Or fixed about this conception of masculinity. There can be lots of different ways of being a man. I can be a man even if I'm not white, male, and wealthy, right? Because that's marketplace man, right? The successful businessman in that way of being a man and being dominant and having status that comes from wealth, right? And even if you don't fit that, then there are other ways you can be a man. And that is exactly what Kimmel is arguing. And that's why he thinks that people shouldn't see his argument about masculinity being a cultural construct and not something that's natural and fixed, but something that can change and shift, right? That's a good thing. He's saying, don't worry about it, guys. It's not a loss. You're not losing anything if you accept masculinity as a social construct, right? It means that you have choices. Okay, let me find that section. All right, this is paragraph 4 on the first page. He says, the idea that manhood is socially constructed and historically shifting should not be understood as a loss. That's something being taken away from men. Kimmel's saying, don't worry, guys. I'm not trying to take anything away from you. Okay. In fact, it gives us something extraordinarily valuable: agency. Okay. Agency means the capacity to act. That's what agency means. If you're an agent, that means you have power to act. You can do it. Okay. And Kimmel is saying, if we think of masculinity, or femininity for that matter, as a social and cultural construct, then that means we can change it. We can do different things if we want. We can deconstruct and reconstruct masculinity the way we want it to be. And that is happening right now in our culture, you guys. That de and reconstruction of masculinity is happening in our culture. All right, are you guys familiar with the Me Too movement? Do you know what I'm talking about? Me Too? Yeah? What's that movement about?
It's about like not alienating survivors of sexual assault.
Yeah, it's about women, but it's also about men, and how men conceive of their own masculine role in our society. Samantha said sexual assault in the chat, right? And so these things are inextricably linked, right? Sexual assault and masculinity go together, because why do men do that stuff? Most men who catcall a woman on the street, and we're going to talk about this next week when we talk about Vincent and Zarin. Most men who do that stuff don't think it's bad, you guys, right? They're just having fun with the boys when they do that stuff. And Kimmel talks about that. Okay, but we can do something else and not have it be a loss. That's what he's saying about agency and about thinking about masculinity as a social construct. All right, let's see. We talked about marketplace man a little bit. Who's marketplace man right now, you guys, in the US? Who embodies this idea of the marketplace man? What person? Who leaps to mind when you think about the description that Kimmel gives of this particular version of masculinity? Yeah. Well, you called him that? Okay. That's good. I just call him Donald Trump. Okay, no offense. No offense to anyone. All right, I call him other things too, but that's the main thing I call him. Yeah, he is the epitome of that version of masculinity, right? Power, dominance, right? And status that comes from wealth, or what he claims as his net worth, which is debatable, how wealthy he is. Okay, but that's marketplace man. We'll come back to this. I'm interested in talking to you about this one before I let you go, though. This is, where is it? Where's the one I want? Homosocial. This one. How does Kimmel define homophobia? And how does it relate to the feeling of powerlessness Kimmel argues is experienced by men? Let's just talk about homophobia first. What does Kimmel mean? The way we generally use that word is to talk about fear of gay people, right? People who are homosexual, people who are not straight. We call that homophobia. Fear of or discrimination against gay people or non-binary people, right? But how is Kimmel using this word? He's not using it that way, right? You guys? Jose, do you know how Kimmel is using the word?
Talking about, like,
Jose, are you there? Oh, sorry, Debbie. I thought you had stopped talking. Let me ask Jose, okay? Because I haven't heard from him yet. Or much. Go ahead, Jose.
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. I'm asking about the definition that Kimmel has of homophobia. And generally, we think of that as fear of gay people, right? Or discrimination against people who are not straight. But Kimmel doesn't use it that way, right?
He uses it like as in like, okay, usually straight men feel threatened by gay people, right? So he's basically describing homophobia more as of I don't know how to explain it, but like in overall, he's basically saying that like how men feel threatened by anything that isn't masculine, in my opinion.
Okay.
So it can be like, I think he gave some examples, or yeah, he did. Women, children, non-native born men's skin color and class.
Yeah, good. Thank you for that. Yeah, all of those things are not masculine, right? And that's how a man knows he's a man, because he's not those things. Right? And that's how men define themselves. In Kimmel's argument, they define themselves against things that aren't masculine, primarily things that are feminine, right? And then other people that aren't necessarily biologically female, they get feminized if they're not masculine enough, right? But a man is dominant, a man is strong, a man is not sensitive the way a woman is, right? At least not to the same things a woman is sensitive to. But it can, and you're not wrong about that. But there's a bit of a nuance here in the way that Kimmel uses homophobia, which is why I'm asking you guys to think about that. Okay? Anybody else understand why or how Kimmel is using that term, homophobia? What is the fear of? It's not fear of gay people, right? It's fear of something else. Homo means same. That's what homo means, right? Homo means same. Whoops, I lost my Zoom window. There it is. So what are men afraid of if it's not gay people? They're afraid of being perceived as not masculine, right? That's basically what Jose was saying, I think. Is that right, Jose?
Yeah.
Yeah. But who are they afraid will perceive them as not masculine? Does that question make sense?
I think they're afraid of like being seen less masculine by other men and like by society, because they want to be accepted and they want to be seen as like tough and like hardcore, but if they do anything that says otherwise, they're scared that they're going to be seen as like fragile.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. I was so excited and I thought you were done. Were you done, Samantha?
Yeah, I'm done. Sorry.
Okay. No, it's fine. Stupid Zoom. Okay, but yes, that's it. They're afraid of other men. They're afraid of their boys. They're afraid their boys, right, will see them as not masculine enough. Okay? My poor kids. Let me tell you another story. Okay, I'm checking to make sure my door is closed because I'm talking about them. and this one's here. Okay, so when my youngest daughter was 12, I think. Okay, she was with her dad, and her father had parked the car, and they were walking across a street together. She was out a little bit ahead of him in crossing the street. And while they were crossing a street, a car, white BMW full of bros, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? Full of bros sped by, and one of them leaned out the window and screamed something at her. What do you think they screamed, you guys?
They catcalled her.
They catcalled her. Something specific. Anyone want to guess? They screamed something at her. My 12-year-old daughter. Do you want me to tell you? There seems to be a fixation with this particular sex act. They asked her to, suck their cock again. Why? Why that fixation? I don't know. Okay? But so do you think they thought that particular behavior was going to result in any sort of sexual encounter between them and my daughter? Do you think that she was going to, respond to that favorably? You think they thought that? What do you think they thought? Why did they do that? Are you guys still there? Are you shocked and dismayed? You should be. I am too. But this is all too common, isn't it? William?
I think too, like they were probably egged on by one of their friends to like get a reaction from the other people in the car.
That's it. Yeah. They were performing for each other, right? And my daughter came to me in tears. She said, "Mommy, what did I do? What's wrong with me? What did I do wrong?" I told her it's not about you. It's them. Okay, so you can imagine that there was laughing, and even if they were like, "Oh my God, dude, really?" They were still laughing, right? They were performing for each other. It was a homosocial enactment, right? And even if someone in that car was uncomfortable with that behavior, would they say anything, you guys? Would they be all serious and say, "God, what is wrong with you? Why are you yelling that at a 12-year-old girl from a moving car?" Do you think anyone in the car would do that? Would confront that behavior?
No.
No. Who said that? Who was that?
No. That's just me, Debbie.
Oh, Debbie, yeah. Okay. Do you guys agree with Debbie that would not be confronted? Samantha said no in chat. Thank you, Samantha. Okay, so that's what we're talking about here with Kimmel. We're talking about homophobia as fear of other men. And Kimmel talks about the fear of being unmasked as not masculine enough. All right? And masculinity as a homosocial enactment, meaning it is constructed within groups of other men. Right? There's a set of rules, and everybody polices everybody else to make sure those rules are followed closely. And if they're not, right? If someone, makes an objection to that kind of behavior, then it's like, "God, dude, what's wrong with you? Are you gay?" Okay, right? Am I right? Am I an asshole? Yes, but I'm still also right. I'm sorry, I'm quoting a movie. Do you guys know The Big Lebowski? No? You should. It's a good movie. Thank you. All right, I got to let you go. It's 2. But real quick, I just want to show you, and we'll continue this. All right, we're pulling this stuff together. I just want to show you what's coming up. before I let you go? Oh, I'll have to show you this next week. This is a good one. Little boys don't cry, right, you guys? So this is another documentary. This one's about boys. Another documentary and discussion. And there's the film. You can just play it right from here. It's got Spanish subtitles. This is the only free version I could find. Okay, probably pirated, but oh well. We deserve it. We shouldn't have to pay for this stuff. That's my view anyway. That's my rationale for stealing. Okay, and then there's 2 more articles and questions about them for you to answer. Alrighty, and if anybody wants to sign up to lead discussion of these for next week, you know, go ahead and do that. And I'll check the sheet and make groups if you do. All right, okay guys, I'm gonna go ahead and end this meeting now. Thanks for hanging in there, and I will see you next week. Alrighty, have a good one.